Welcome in to Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Coming your way on today's show, Ben Simmons and Clutch Sports filing a grievance against the Sixers organization. James Harden really bringing the best out of Matisse Thybulle as evidenced by the numbers we'll show you later on. And of course, I'm going to give you all shout outs on Twitter and Instagram for those of you who gave me a follow. We start off with really the most on-brand story for Ben Simmons and Clutch Sports, and the increasing power of Clutch Sports across the NBA, I think is a big problem. But Ben Simmons, according to Kyle Neubeck of Philly Voice, probably going to be filing a grievance against the Sixers. And let's run through all of the reporting from Neubeck's front. He said this on Philly Voice: a grievance from the Ben Simmons camp and his representation is expected to be filed soon, with the reception he encounters at Thursday's Sixers-Nets game serving as a potential piece of their case to recoup money he lost in fines this season. The expected move has been a long time coming. Dating back to the fall, there have been many around the Sixers organization who have chosen to go radio silent on all things Simmons, aware that arbitration was likely the outcome for this process. And anyone with a rudimentary understanding of finances also probably could have seen this coming. Nobody likes to throw away $20 million, even if they have that money in the bank or they have that money coming to them down the road. Now, in my previous life and in my previous gig before I came here at Chat Sports, worked for WNEP in Scranton, shout out to the 570, and I covered some cases like this, right? This is a classic legal ploy for Ben Simmons and Clutch Sports to get back the $20 million that the Sixers fined him for not showing up to work. And oftentimes, I don't think we really do compare athletes to regular professions all that well because, look, we should. Sports organizations are businesses, and Ben Simmons didn't come to work, and he was fined because of that, and tried to blame mental health on why he didn't report for work, but then told the Brooklyn Nets that once he got traded, he was ready to play. So basically, he made fun of all of those people who are actually dealing with serious mental health issues, and now they're talking about this back injury. Ben Simmons is soft, we know this. And here is the truth about Ben Simmons and the way that Philadelphia has treated him as well as the organization. Ever since Ben Simmons got drafted number 1 overall out of LSU, Philadelphia showed him unwavering support. But him not developing his jump shot was confounding, and him not developing that jump shot directly impacted his offensive game as well as the 76ers' success in the NBA playoffs. In that second round series against the Boston Celtics, once again in that second round series against the Toronto Raptors, and last year against the Atlanta Hawks. And my problem with Ben Simmons, and Philadelphia's problem with Ben Simmons, is that he never looked in the mirror, he never took accountability for his flaws and weaknesses, and never put the work in on the court to improve on some of those flaws and weaknesses to help himself out and maximize the team success as well. And it reached a boiling point against the Atlanta Hawks, and then Simmons goes around and blames others instead of himself. And Simmons' lack of self-awareness really is troubling for a superstar, and I don't think he loves the game of basketball. And Philly wants to know that you actually care about your craft and that you care about your team. Like Aaron Rowan was a solid player for the Philadelphia Phillies. He runs into that center field fence, busts open his face and says, "For who? You know, the game. For what? My team." Ben Simmons would never. Like, you don't have to be a great player for Philadelphia to admire and respect you. The reason why Philadelphia was so frustrated with Ben Simmons, they saw greatness in him. They saw that he had potential to be an all-time great, a LeBron James level player with a jump shot, but he never developed a jump shot, never worked on his offensive game like a Giannis did or a Jaylen Brown. He was just kind of content with being an all-star and being a very good player and not a great player. And the fact that he choked in that second round series against the Atlanta Hawks is a big reason why Philadelphia just became done with Ben Simmons because, look, he never did the necessary things to help himself out or the team, and it cost the Sixers a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2001, and possibly an NBA Finals trip for the first time since Allen Iverson won MVP in 2001. No matter what happens on Thursday night, whether or not the Sixers faithful cheers Ben Simmons or they boo him, he's going to be sitting on the bench with the Brooklyn Nets, and the national media is going to go with the lazy narrative, and they're going to pile on Philadelphia, acting as though Ben Simmons is the victim and the Philadelphia fans are just ridiculously abrasive. That's not the case. Like, Ben Simmons is at fault here. He just never admitted that he was in the wrong. And instead, he did the lazy thing too, just like the national media, and he blamed others for his flaws and weaknesses and his failures as a player. You got to put the work in. If you want to be great, Ben Simmons never did that. Tyrese Maxey improving more in 1 year than Ben Simmons has in his entire career really is telling. So this is another topic of conversation in Philadelphia right now, whether or not Ben Simmons deserves a tribute video because Doc Rivers said that he did. And look, 3-time All-Star, one of the best defenders in the NBA, first-team All-Defense last year, a second-team All-NBA player, and he was a former number 1 pick who had a lot of success, helping lead the Sixers to a lot of regular season wins and some postseason success. But the fact that it ended the relationship between him and Philly in a contentious manner, he doesn't deserve a tribute video. And he just really didn't treat the Philadelphia fans all that well and didn't realize that we had his back. We had support for him. But yeah, he's just a ridiculous person. Type Y for yes, type N for hell no. Whether or not you think Ben Simmons deserves a tribute video, get those votes in. Then we'll get to Matisse Thybulle. Also, while you're down there, make sure you subscribe to Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. We launched this channel over the summer, and we're growing like crazy. The fastest growing Sixers channel on YouTube. The support that we have received in terms of subscribers and views really has been terrific. So join the movement for the best year-round Sixers news and rumors right here on YouTube by hitting that red subscribe button down below. We're coming for 6K subs. In his first 5 games as a Philadelphia 76er, James Harden has been outstanding following the trade. And he's really made everybody else on the floor a lot better, including Joel Embiid, including Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, and Georges Niang. Like, he has really maximized the talent of everybody else on the floor, and the statistics really have been crazy. Now, we covered what James Harden has been able to do in his first 5 games, and it's been historic on yesterday's show. Be sure to check that out. Also talked about Tobias Harris rumors in a trade for Bradley Beal, but the Harden impact has been so real. The Sixers have scored at least 120 points in all 5 games in which he's played. They did that only 7 times in the previous 58 games. And who are the players who have benefited? Embiid has had a lot of open shot looks. Tyrese Maxey has been going off, shooting around 70% from 3 because he's so wide open all the time. Georges Niang has really stepped up as a 3-point killer, and Matisse Thybulle on both ends of the floor has been awesome as well. And the Sixers in the win-loss column, 5-0 with the Beard in the lineup. Here's an interesting stat as well. The Sixers, when Matisse Thybulle plays well offensively, they're undefeated. 8-0 when he scores in double digits. And we know this about Thybulle. Coming out of Washington, we knew he was going to be an all-world defender. It all came down to his offensive game as far as how good he was going to become. And Matisse Thybulle has limitless potential, especially if he just becomes a competent 3-point shooter. I want to run you through some numbers of what Thybulle's been able to do with Harden on the floor. This coming from Forbes. Thybulle had 5 double-digit scoring outings in his first 43 games this year. He already has 3 in his 5 games alongside Harden. Thybulle has 16 made field goals in those 5 games, and Harden has assisted on 10 of them. Thybulle has missed only 6 shots off Harden passes thus far, 2 of which were 3-pointers. And you take a look at his numbers, they've elevated and they've increased playing alongside the Beard. 8 points per game. He's shooting around 61.5% from the floor, 36% from beyond the arc and downtown, which is really great for him because if that number continues, we're talking about an awesome addition to the Sixers lineup who can really change the complexion of games with his ability to impact games on the offensive and defensive ends of the floor. And his net rating with James Harden on the floor, 26.1. Basically, that puts into play your impact offensively and defensively while you're on the floor. That's the net rating for all of those who aren't familiar with that analytical stat. Now, Thybulle has incredible potential. He really just has to become a competent shooter. That's all I'm asking for Matisse Thybulle. Become a competent shooter, knock down about 36% of your 3-point attempts, and he will be one of the most valuable players in the NBA. He's never going to get paid a crazy salary because he's not an offensive juggernaut. but his ability to impact games defensively, and you have him in that starting lineup, especially in nowadays offensive-heavy NBA, he really can impact games to an extraordinary fashion. He just has to become a competent shooter that adds to the floor spacing and makes him a serious weapon. A wrinkle that I've really liked that I've seen from Matisse Thybulle and James Harden, and Doc Rivers does deserve credit for this, him as a cutter coming off screens and him as a cutter just in general, he's been on the receiving end of a couple of James Harden dimes, and Thybulle has thrown down some dunks, displaying that elite athleticism, and that athleticism has led to him becoming one of the best defenders in the NBA. I mean, the masterful work he did against Steph Curry at the Wells Fargo Center, top notch. Now, he translates that defensive work to offense, like we're talking about here, and that makes that James Harden trade even more of a win because he didn't give up Thybulle, an all-world defender, and maybe a better three-point shooter with Harden in the lineup, and then we know he's going to bring it defensively night in and night out. But him as a cutter on some of those backdoor screens and some of those cutting actions, I love the wrinkle that Doc Rivers has implemented in this offense with Harden playing with Thybulle. So, Australian Air. This is a great call from Kate Scott, by the way, and she's really grown on me this year, replacing Mark Zumoff. Big shoes to fill, but I think she's done a good job over time. Thybulle flew in for a dunk, and she was like, Australian Air! I thought it was a really good call. But I want you to get into the comment section once more and chime in, sound off, be a part of the show like I am as the host. Can Thybulle become a consistent shooter? His form, sometimes the elbow flares out there. It's a little bit wonky, but 36% on long-range attempts with Harden in the lineup, that's good stuff. Type Y for yes, type N for no. I also told all of you that I was going to give you shout-outs on Twitter and Instagram if you gave me a follow on last night's show, as we recorded that on Tuesday night. So I'm a man of my word, and I want to give shout-outs to those who did give me follows on social media. I'm just going to go down to my most recent follows. It's the easiest way to do this. And let's see here. All right, we're going to start on Twitter. NNP, Fahad K, Himsy, Stewart, Yuri, Samo Boy, Ryan Brodo, Jake Gall, Ace Barnes, Guy Rudiger, Jonathan Javier, Rob Swinga, Eddie Fielden, Kyle Casterline, Dadman Freddy, Joey McKenna, Deej Rametalarto Suproton. Hopefully I pronounced that right. He's an FC Chelsea fan as well as a Sixers fan. He's at DJ Monte Neal, Elvis Music, Why You Mad Bro, George Sturgis, Jeff Wakefield, Rusty, Carrington, Philly, Cameron, Brian, Ziggy, Wet Noodle, Hoss 3, Tom Driver, Disgruntled Sports Gamer, RFN, and then I'm going to pop over to Instagram because I had some good conversations last night with some people on IG. And by the way, it's the same handle on both social media platforms, at Chase_Senior. Anpu Mines, ZH, you can find that handle down below, by the way. Craig Lynch, good talking with you on IG. Jappy6, Insta Thomas, 808 Sturgis, Walter Miller, Jose Roman, Leonard Kells, good interacting with you in the DMs as well. Darkness, TP, Zach Witt, Philly Fans SD, 806 The Kid, Billy Rivera, Devda T Dude 15, Steven, Hero, King Jr., Mari, Eric, Neil, Elvis, Yvonne, Calvin, Chloe, Bruda, Jack. Appreciate all of you for really showing love and continuing to support 76ers now. You want to give me a follow on social media at Chase_Senior. We can talk Sixers, we can talk life, we can talk basketball, cover the NFL and college football here as well. What'd you say, Producer Chugs? And we can talk Eagles too. Shoot, Philadelphia Eagles. I'm always down to talk about the Bird Gang. So at Chase_Senior, and while you're interacting with me, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching today's show.